Woo! It's getting a little chilly up here at the Northwest. Starting to get a couple of snowflakes. Hey guys, Steve from Scooter King here, and we are finally starting to get some snowflakes up here in the Northwest. And what that means for us is that riding season is right around the corner to closing. And we've had a really long riding season this year. Our winter has come super late. So it's been a great riding season, but it's all the more reason to start thinking about maintenance before you put your scooter up for the winter like we have to do up here in the colder climates. So starting from top to bottom, the first thing you want to do at the end of your scooter season is do an overall scooter kind of checklist. You want to go through every bolt, every nut, every connection, every folding mechanism, the stem, everything, and make sure that all your nuts and bolts and screws are as tight as they were at the beginning of the scooter season. And this is so easy to forget because that stuff comes loose surprisingly easy, especially if you've had a lot of hard riding and a lot of off-road riding. It can really rattle a lot of stuff loose. Perfect time of year to go through all that stuff before you put it up. Or if you live in a warmer climate, it gives you an opportunity to check all that stuff out without letting the entire year go by. The next category is absolutely brakes. You want to make sure that everything works as good as it did when you started the scooter season. You want to make sure that all of your rotors and your pads are in great shape. So your entire braking system, you want to go through it top to bottom. Also make sure if you have hydraulic brakes that your brakes aren't getting spongy. I've done a whole series of brake maintenance, so go back and check those out if you haven't seen them. But it's a good time to check and make sure that the responsiveness of your hydraulic brake levers are still only about 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch of travel. If you're getting more than that, it's a pretty good indication you might need to bleed your brakes. So now, at the end of the year, is a good time to do that. Next up, it's time to go through our shocks and suspension. You really want to go through the entire system, the swing arms, all the joints, everything that can get gummed up or get road grime and debris in there. This is a good time to adjust them, and it always usually takes a set screw to loosen or remove first, and then you can actually free the shock up to be adjusted. It can be a bit more challenging on the back if the set screw for the nuts on the bottom. And this is so much easier if you have a set of multiple size spanner wrenches like these. These are really inexpensive. You can get them off Amazon. I'll leave these in the links below so you can check them out, but they make adjusting your shock so much easier. The front shock is the same. Undo the set screw, and a little bit of WD-40, the silicone based stuff, really helps with this, as this set nut here at the top gets really gummed up over the riding season, and then your spanner tool makes adjusting these a lot easier. If you have a scooter like the Solar Series or the Roadrunner D Series, these dual front shock style really need to be lubricated throughout the year. They get really filled with stuff and gummed up as well, and they have a tendency to seize up and make the ride firmer than it needs to be. Next category is tires and motors. These are the things that get the most amount of wear and tear when you're out on hard rides, and you want to make sure that they're in good shape. So if you can, get your scooter up off the ground so that the tires, at least one of them, front or back, can spin freely, and then spin them to make sure that the bearings are nice and clean. You don't have any grinding sounds, nothing's worked their way into those bearings. This is also a good time and a great way to check and see if your rotors are out of round and if you have any excessive noise. You really want to take care of that now. And look at the tire pattern. Make sure the tires are wearing evenly. If you have really bizarre looking wear patterns, like it's all bald on one side but it's not on the other, that's a pretty good indication that there's something up with the way the tire sits on the actual swing arm itself. So now is a really good time to double check that and make sure that it's nice and free and everything moves easily without any grinding or any noises like that whatsoever. Next up is battery life. Your scooter's battery really is the heart of your overall ride, and that's what powers the motors and everything else on board, including the lights. And if that starts to show excessive wear, your ride's going to be over pretty quick. And the way to really tell that is if you're starting to see excessive signs of battery wear, like battery sag. The battery sag is when you jump on the throttle and your battery bar plummets. So even if you're way up to, you know, 3/4 or even more than that on a full charge, and you slam the throttle and it plummets your battery bar all the way down into BMS, that's a good indication that your battery is starting to show some signs of wear and tear. And because the battery is really one of the most expensive things on your scooter, it's something you really want to keep an eye on. And one of the ways you can do that is how you store your scooter for the seasons. If you live in a colder climate like we do here in the Northwest, having a removable battery makes storing it for the winter so much easier. It's also important to know what charge to store your battery at. Most manufacturers recommend storing your battery at about an 80% charge, as storing it at 100% can often confuse the BMS system in the battery over time. If you store your battery in the scooter and then leave the scooter outside, especially at freezing temperature, it will wear your overall battery health down incredibly fast. End of the year or winter time is a great time to check for water and rust damage. Already getting wet. Thank God for good tires. Yeah. Hell yeah. Come on, baby. If it's been a wet and rainy season where you ride, this is definitely the time of year you want to take stuff apart and really look all over the place for water and rust damage. Rust is the indicator that water's been there, and if you've got water, especially pooled someplace in the battery compartment or around the motors or inside the motors, that spells trouble, and it's expensive trouble. The battery is the most expensive part of your ride, so you want to absolutely make sure that it's dry in there and that you have no visible signs of water or rust damage anywhere near there or the motors. And finally, any kinds of modifications, lights, electronics. If you've added these within the last year, especially things like a steering dampener, because they undergo a lot of force, especially over, you know, bumpy terrain, off-road terrain. These things can work themselves loose pretty easily. Rocks and roots on trails and stuff, and divots, especially if you're going at high speeds, they work those little brackets on the frames loose pretty quick, and you can get these out of alignment pretty fast, so double checking them at the end of the season is a great idea. Any accessories that you might have added to your scooter throughout the last year or so. So if you've got add-on accessories, if you've got mounting bars, cables, attachments, camera mounts, steering dampeners, all those things that you've added to your scooter, now is a good time to go through and make sure that each one of those is firmly attached and still snug against the frame of your scooter as it was at the beginning of the scooter season. Hey guys, thanks for hanging out. I appreciate the company as always. If this was helpful in any way, please hit the subscription and notification bells. It helps keep a young channel like this going and growing. Get out there, rip it up while you still can. Stay safe. We'll catch you guys in the next video.